How is everybody doing? We're going to take a look at Robert Plant, his solo albums from 1982 until 1990. Robert Plant, for those of you who do not know who he is, was the singer from the British rock band Led Zeppelin. And Led Zeppelin unfortunately called it a day in 1980 after drummer John Bonham died. And they released an album called Coda in 1982, which was a collection of odds and ends just to tie up the whole catalogue. And also in 1982 Robert Plant released his first solo album, and we're going to take a look at that right now. So Pictures at 11, released in 1982, like I said, it was the first solo album by Plant. It's not too bad. I remember buying it, God, 1990 I think, and some of the stuff on it reminds me of Zeppelin, from, we'll say, Presence to the final album, Into the Outdoor. I mean, yeah, his voice, you're so used to listening to with Led Zeppelin that there's obviously similarities, but he's got a new band here completely. Phil Collins plays drums on most of the tracks except Slow Dancer and Like I've Never Been Gone, and those tracks are taken care of by Cozy Powell, fantastic drummer. And yeah, it opens with Burning Down One Side, and again, that reminds me of something off Into the Outdoor, Moonlight and Samosa. It's a slow track, Pledge Pen, Slow Dancer. It's like something from Presence, yeah. And then Worse Than Detroit, Fat Lip, Like I've Never Been Gone. It's another slow one as well. Mystery title. Reminds me of something off Presence by Led Zeppelin. The album has a kind of a very clean sound to it. Little sterile, and Robbie Blunt was his guitar player in this period, and his sound is super clean. Bass, Paul Martinet. Keyboards and synth, Jeff Woodruff. Jez. It's a strange font. And like I said, drums, Collins, Powell. Yeah, released on Swan Song label. It's not, it's not a bad album. The second solo album is titled The Principle of Moments. This was released in 1983. It's similar to the first one, but the songs are a little bit more prog and a little bit more adventurous. There's a lot of restraint here and stuff like that, and that's why I think it's better than the first one. He kind of comes into his own in this. This is definitely a Robert Plant. It doesn't sound as much like Zeppelin really, and some great tracks on this one. Other Arms. It's a kind of a rocky opener. Probably my least favourite track on this album, but then you've got In the Mood. I really like that one. And then Messing with the Meccan, that's a good one as well. Reckless Love. Through with the Two-Step, that's a long track. It kind of meanders a little, kind of dated keyboards on it. Horizontal Departure, I really like that one as well. Stranger Here, Then Over There, it's a good one. But Big Log, that's a fantastic track with fantastic guitar on it. Quite mysterious as well. That was a single off this album, and the album is probably worth buying for that track alone. Robbie Blunt's guitar is super clean. There's the band. Phil Collins again plays, and then the other drummer is Barrymore Barlow. Again, Jez Woodruff on keyboards and Robbie Blunt guitar, Paul Martinet keyboard. There's actually a single released from this, and on the back you can see Phil Collins standing with the band. So it's on the Esperanza label, and these albums actually sound very good on vinyl. I had them on CD from back in 1990. I bought most of them, and they sound very sterile on CD. Well, to me back then, but I only picked up the vinyl in the last, I don't know, maybe 10, 20 years. The vinyl sounds really good if you can get clean copies. The drums are really punchy, they sound fantastic. I presume they're analog recordings, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, definitely worth investigation. Right, Shaken and Stirred, this was released in 1985. Just before that, he released an EP, The Honey Drippers, but it wasn't actually a Robert Plant titled EP. It was Honey Drippers Volume 1, I think, which was kind of a throwback of 50s and 60s tracks. It's not bad. I have that too, but it's not under the banner of Robert Plant. Part 2 never came, of course, and yeah, that's an oddity in the canon. Shaken and Stirred, this is a strange beast. It's alien. It's almost like he's taken the clean rock, pop, prog, whatever, to the limits. I don't think he could go any further than this. I remember buying this on CD in 1989. I think I was starting to get into Zeppelin or something like that. Robert Plant. I may have bought Now and Then on CD. I can't remember, but I remember buying the CD in a bargain bin. It was still £8 or £9, and I brought it back thinking, "Oh, cool, Robert Plant," you know. And it was just a shock, you know. It was. This sounds really 80s. A lot of keyboards. Even the build up at the start, all kind of noodling and stuff like that. The keyboards kind of accentuate on what his voice does, you know. He has this kind of way of repeating things like, you know, yeah, he's got this, you know, he's got a distinctive way of chanting certain things and repetition, and it's like planting a blender, a musical blender. He could have went down the synth pop route and released, you know, stuff that's very commercial, but this is definitely not commercial, and it's as if he went out of his way not to make a commercial. I could be wrong. I don't know really what he was thinking at the time, but we'll say let's go from the Honey Drippers to this. It is the complete opposite spectrums of music. So hip to who, even the titles, but the quality, the sound quality of the album is fantastic, and the bass lines on it are great. Some of the bass lines I think are put through octave pedals and stuff like that, and sound quality is fantastic. So even for the engineering aspect alone, it sounds great. Kalu, kalalalu, lalalu. Too loud. That's almost kind of like a type of a hip hop track. Yeah. Trouble Your Money. Pink and Black. Little by Little. That's a great track. I really like that. That could have been a Zeppelin track, I suppose. And it was on an episode of Miami Vice when they're dealing with drug dealers, I think, on the sea. It involves boats and stuff like that. Great track. Doo Doo a Dodo. I mean, easily led. And then you got sixes and sevens. That's another good one as well. I suppose Little by Little and sixes and sevens, they're slow tracks. They're probably the most normal sounding tracks on the album. But yeah, pick this up if you're into Zeppelin and stuff like that. You're probably going to love it, or probably going to hate it. I do like it now, you know. There's something, it's got its own charm. And yeah, it's definitely one of the odd solo albums by a famous frontman. Next up is Now and Then. This was released in 1988. This is probably, what will I say, it's probably one of his most commercial solo albums anyway in the 80s. The stuff is instantly accessible and it's actually very good songs. I bought this back in 1989, compact disc. I think there's an extra track in the CD, I can't remember. But yeah, I like this. Heaven Knows it's a great track. Dancing on My Own, great, tall, cool one. The Way I Feel, I like that one as well. Helen of Troy, Billy's Revenge, kind of bit of what did I say, rock and roll there. Ship of Fools, great track as well, brilliant track, worth having. I think that was a Miami Vice as well, I think in an episode called Free Fall. And Why, and then White, Clean and Neat. This is a good album. Yeah, he upped the game on this one. Esperanza. Oh, okay, it's funny how they kind of carry the old type from his earlier albums on that one. From The Principle. Yeah, this is probably if you like Zeppelin and Plant, you'll definitely want this in your collection. Lastly, we come to Manic Nirvana. Right. This one, I think for me it kind of gets a little bit giddy. I bought this when it came out actually in 1990. And yeah, he kind of gets back into the swing of kind of heavier rock. There's actually distortion on the guitars on this one as well. Hurt and Kind. It's a full 4/4 blazer, and the lyrics are a little bit cheesy on that one. Got My Eyes on You. Big Love. Again, this stuff kind of does actually hark back to Zeppelin, you know. S, S, S and Q, whatever that means. I Cried, that's a kind of a slow track. And then Nirvana itself reminds me of In Excess, clean guitar riff at the start. Tie Dye on the Highway, that's actually one of the best tracks on the album. Again, I think that harks back to Now and Then, kind of more serious stuff. Your Mama Said You Cried in Your Sleep Last Night. Again, a little bit throwaway. The Anniversary. In Liar's Dance, it's an acoustic track, quite short, and he's kind of saying things like, we won't be back again. I wonder, was he on about Zeppelin? But funny enough, Never 90, Plant did play it, and I think Jimmy Page was with him as well. I think they played Wearing and Tearing. Yeah, but when he's saying they won't be back again, that was quite funny, because in 1990 Zeppelin's catalogue was remastered, and the remasters came out, and there was a huge resurgence of Zeppelin, and they were kind of, you know, they're highly influential, and they kind of did hold their own in the 90s. They were actually huge in the 90s for a band that were gone, but their back catalogue was back in the spotlight. It's been there really for the last 30 years, you know. They kind of, it's a little bit like ABBA, you know, the way they kind of died a little bit in the 80s, or kind of became forgotten, and then all of a sudden by 92 ABBA Gold came out and thump, up they went. So yeah, it's similar, yeah. And then the last track is Watching You. So this one, it's entertaining enough, but I think Now and Then is definitely a better album. I think the pick out of these would be Principle of Moments, and Now and Then would be kind of more or less the two best ones. And we've got a younger band on this as well. Yeah. There you go, it's Esperanza. So yeah, it's like I said, it's not bad. And pretty just kind of a deletion cut on this. I sent off for this, I can't remember where I got it, Discogs or something like that. But yeah, it's worth it, it's worth having. So that's it really, don't have any more. The next album after this was Faith of Nations in 1993. Never had that in vinyl, it's quite hard to find. Unless they reissue it and stuff like that. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe and take care.